Yo, what up, YouTube? We back with another reaction, boy. This shit is crazy. You feel me? So we got the story of the day. Popped up on my Facebook. I shared it. I'm like, yeah, I'm finna react to that shit. You feel me? So we got the Cleveland man that had 11 bodies in his crib. I don't know if y'all see that on YouTube going worldwide, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that. I don't know if y'all see it. We finna tune into it.
12205 Imperial Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, being torn down.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Hold on though. Did y'all ever see the story they made up in Cleveland? It wasn't really a story. It was a true facts about the two girls that was kidnapped. They made a movie out of it. It's like a Lifetime movie. I think I covered that story too.
Tear it down. Tear it down. Tear it down. Tear it down.
Officially, it's become a risk to the public health. But as it's wiped away from the world, demolition teams cannot remove the memories of what has gone on inside. Those who did manage to escape the horrors of 12205 tell of macabre discoveries.
She caught a glimpse.
Hold on though. First thing first, you gotta be sick to rape, murder, and hide these bodies in your crib, bro, for years. For years. You gotta be one sick individual, bro.
Of one of the decomposing bodies, which frightened her and just made her, realize I have got to get out of here.
Another victim enters 12205 with a man she thinks charming.
He raped her and made her repeat after him, "Yes, sir, I like it." He was as frightening an attack as can be imagined by any woman.
Others escape by throwing themselves from the upper floor windows of a house full of pain, not knowing if they'll survive. A passerby calls police.
She fell out the window upstairs on the second floor.
Okay, are you there
And
with
she
her?
landed on
Hey, not to laugh about it, but that way dude called, she fell from the second floor. She naked. Oh, bro.
the ground, butt neck.
Are you with her right now?
I'm right here right now. She laying on the ground, butt neck.
Chime exists to help everyday Americans make it. When you get paid on your terms, your world opens up.
He rapes, he binds, he murders. He rapes, he binds, he murders.
Each time Saul entices a woman into his home, whether they live or die, is up to him. How many times will he rape? How many times will he murder before anyone can get inside the mind of a serial killer? Mount Pleasant, Cleveland, Ohio. Its name belies what a dangerous neighborhood it can be. Between 2007 and 2009, it proves all too treacherous for women walking the streets alone. Anthony Sowell claims to be hearing voices.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Cleveland low-key busting for real. I've been up there one time, and that was to take our peoples up there to drop her off. And we went up there around, I say we left the crib around 11:30. Made it up there probably around 2 o'clock in the morning type shit. Then dropped her off, turned around, drove all the way back. Me and my girl done drove all the way back from Cleveland to Wintersville. If you go on your maps and Google that, you'll see it's not that far of a drive. You feel what I'm saying? It's about Columbus is about, from where I'm from, Columbus is 2.5, then there's 3 hours. But I would say, depending on how you drive on the freeway, if you're one of them people that drive 55 all the way through, you know what I'm saying, it might take you a little bit longer. It might take you 3 hours. But if you're one of them people like me and my girl, we hit that highway And the speed limit 70, we going about 75, 80. Whole way there. You feel me? Unless there's state troopers on the highway. Then we're going to slow it down to 70.
telling him to kill.
I think I just choked him. Nothing like torture, beat,
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
What they were like off or something maybe? Or what? What you think would cause you to choke him? I mean, just off the top of your head. Think about it. Punish him?
My girl and them something. That's all I can say.
That was punishing them because of.
I was the punish. Like,
was the punish?
I can't explain it.
When women
I didn't even realize, like, this man's currently in court for this shit now. And I wonder how much time they gave him. Because I know Ohio, bro, you're not getting away with shit like this. And you're not going to get a break either. Now, you might need psychiatric help, a nut ward, and, you know what I'm saying, therapy classes, whatever, throughout your trial and shit, or whatever it's called. But I know Ohio ain't like, I'm from Ohio, and I know Ohio's not like Florida, New York, this, that, and the third, or wherever, you know what I'm saying, that be letting people go that's strictly crazy like this, you know what I'm saying? Ohio's not finna play with you. You come up here tweaking if you want, your ass gonna go either 6 feet, or your ass gonna go straight to jail, on God.
meet Anthony Sowell, they think he's a good guy, someone with whom to party.
Well, I think if you look at the MO that Anthony Sowell used, a lot of the women actually went willingly to his home.
And
So
those
he was
women
using
had
his
gone
charm to
to
get these
Anthony
women to his
Sowell's
bread.
house maybe to use drugs or drink or just hang out with him and had never left the home.
A very specific demographic was in danger. Using his bare hands, Sowell becomes a one-man lethal weapon.
You had a body that was right here. You had a body that was over here. You had a bag that was a body in there.
God.
Hold on, look, I ain't finished. And you got a body behind the wall.
Well, a lot of dirt back there too.
A lot of dirt all over that body.
That's nasty.
This is a new kind of Prize Picks ad, because now they let you pick winners, spreads, totals, and more. This is Prize Picks.
Inside his killing chambers, Anthony Sowell displays the two sides to his personality. When his life is surrounded by order, discipline, routine, he's a regular guy. When he's out of work, down on his luck, he turns to drink and drugs. And then things can get very ugly.
On October 29th, 2009, some Cleveland police officers, some detectives actually went to Anthony Sowell's home on Imperial Avenue, and they were looking to.
That's what they said. They said from 2009 to 2011, if I'm not mistaken, this is when all this shit took place. So from 2009 all the way to 2011, that's what they saying. You feel me?
Arrest him. A woman had accused him of rape. When they went to the house, he was not there.
The streets Sowell cruises, as police call it his house, are home to a lot of women whose lives have been captured by drugs. Around the time that Sowell stalks the neighborhood for women, decades of economic distress and home foreclosures placed him in a world of failure, decay, disorder, drugs too, and drink. Lots of drink.
There was a little corner store right there that was kind of the hub of activity on Imperial Avenue. They were really familiar with Anthony Sowell. He would come in and buy, tall beers, King Cobra beers, which he would drink often. People would come over to the store.
I ain't gonna lie. Y'all ever had a King Cobra, bro? I was about like 11 or 12, New Year's Eve. My mom and pops got people over. I come down the stairs, being nosy. I'm a kid at the time. Pops at the table with a tall ass King Cobra At Glass joint, I would never forget. Pops was like, here, take a little swig of this. To this day, bro, I do not like no type of beer. That shit was disgusting. When I say that King Cobra shit was nasty, boy, that shit was nasty as fuck. To this day, like, I would not drink a beer. I went out partying with my cousin and them. And this is at the time Bud Light just had dropped Platinums. If y'all remember them Bud Light Platinums that everybody used to grab at the parties and shit. When they first dropped, my cousin passed me one. He get the, hey, cuzzo, sip on that a little bit. Now me, I'm already off of like, we done smoked on the way there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm high. So when we get to the party, boom, cuzzo passed me a Bud Light. I see everybody else around me with this blue bottle, glass bottle in their hand. That shit says Bud Light Platinum. And everybody was geeked in the party. They get the, that new shit, that new beer that just came out. I remember this shit like no tomorrow. So I like, all right, popped the cap off that bitch. Took a couple swigs. All right, this ain't bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm drinking it a little bit. Drink like half of it. All right, now it's fucking with my stomach. But moral of the story is, beer is fucking disgusting.
When they would come to his house, buy beer, party, kind of back and forth.
A cocktail of factors turns Soul into a monster, one who escapes justice for 2 years. That late October day, the Cleveland police finally decide that events surrounding Soul and 12205 Imperial need further investigation.
They entered the home and they found the bodies of 2 women who were basically sitting out in the open, decomposing. Once they found that, they called in a lot more police and some crime scene investigation.
So wait a minute, you mean to tell me the police went to this man's house the first time he wasn't there? They said that. Y'all enter the house, y'all see 2 females sitting there my bad, let me phrase it. Decomposing. Y'all know what the smell of a dead body is, bro. Anybody knows that fucking smell, bro. Because as soon as you die, you piss and you shit on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that part. And that's a fact. So you got 2 females just sitting there in the open, decomposing. Can you imagine walking into a house and you looking for someone? The dude that's supposed to live there, you looking for him, and he just got 2 dead bodies sitting out. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that would be, to me, that would be mind-blowing, shock, and sickness. Like how did he operate in this house with 11 victims in his walls and shit? I don't know.
And over the course of maybe a week or more, they found many more bodies.
After digging in the backyard, investigators found 3 more bodies and the remains of a 4th.
There was bodies everywhere and crawl spaces on the floor. He's surrounded by his handiwork everywhere he turns.
One woman, really all they found of her was a skull that was in a bucket under some stairs in the basement. It turns out that there was 11 women total who had gone missing since about 2007.
Over 2 years, Anthony Sowell had somehow managed to lure the women into his home, rape them, torture them, kill them.
If you're getting spam texts like these or spam phone calls like these, then it's highly likely that your data has been breached. There's a new website you can use to check if your information is being...
Kill them. Leave their rotting bodies to decompose all around him, creating an unspeakable stench. And nobody knew.
I'm pretty sure that shit stinks.
What, or who, made Anthony Sowell into the so-called Cleveland Strangler?
So many people could have seen this, but they didn't. The army thought he was great, prison wardens thought he was great, neighbors thought he was a lovely guy.
Sowell himself says his first taste of violence came when he was a child sharing a home in East Cleveland. He was not a happy boy.
Anthony Sowell was a timid, somewhat taunted boy.
You know, he wasn't a person that everybody immediately had a specific memory of, but he was kind of always in the background, maybe a little bit socially awkward.
He grew up with a lack not only of a father figure, but a lot of very strong maternal figures. He had his mom, he had his grandmother, he had cousins of different ages, he had his 2 sisters.
The mother and the grandmother often would beat the children, you know, that Sowell got beaten a lot.
She would beat them with an electrical cord to the point that they bled.
Sowell never presented
First off, back in the day, around that time, yeah, you would get your ass whooped with like a spatula, extension cord, a fucking hanger. You know what I'm saying? Because around that area, them years, like 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, you was able to whoop your kids, folks, if they got out of control. Nowadays, that's why we got so many YNs on the corners and shit, running shit down with switches and shit, because these little kids don't get their ass whooped. Nowadays, they don't. Like, I remember my pops chased me around my mom's car with a big-ass brown extension cord. And as he was swinging that motherfucker on phone them grave, as he was swinging it, I can hear the wind coming off that bitch like, whew, 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 whew. I just kept running and was praying to God at the time, like, that motherfucking switch didn't hit me, dog. Because that shit, the way that shit sounded when he was trying to hit me with it and I was running around my mom's car, like, Pete, that shit was something crazy, bro. You hear that shit, that's that, whew, whew. Like, you hear that shit. But nowadays, you beat a kid with a house shoe or a belt, they want to go to school claiming that they going to call CPS on you. And everybody know when CPS get in your life, ain't no turning back. Unless your case is closed. People will fuck with you forever. Especially in the state of Ohio.
recollections of his childhood to investigators. He raised them in court much later. By then, an independent source had come forward to offer an alternative memory of life in the Sowell household when he was a child. He wasn't always the victim. He was also the perpetrator.
One of his female cousins has reported that from the age of 11, she was continually raped by Anthony.
One relative testified during the trial that Sowell and other men in that house had sexually abused her from a very young age.
That may have had an influence on how he sees women and his sense of entitlement to have.
I mean, yeah, it could have an entitlement on him because, like, I'm not going to speak about my story because it's going on YouTube and shit. But knowing growing up, I had a male cousin touching on me. And I told my mom, told my dad, and of course my mom ran back, said some shit to my goddamn auntie, which was her son. And my aunt just said, I don't believe that. He wouldn't do that. So guess what? That's why I'm being around my family, on God. I don't give a fuck about what nobody talking about. That shit. And then what hurts me the most, like, people want you to forgive that shit. Oh, that shit would happen when y'all was kids. Just get over it, forget it. How the fuck can you forget somebody that's sexually touching you at a young age? You know what I'm saying? Despite being family or not. If you being touched at a young age, your behavior is crazy, bro. And when I say crazy, like, you might do some wild shit. And you might not think about what you're about to do until it's already done. You feel what I'm saying?
Sex with those women, which was very clear from his interaction with some of his victims that survived.
And to be a victim of child sex abuse or sexual abuse, and you're a child, and this shit's happening in your family, when you're young like that, you're not wanting to tell nobody. You're going to hold that shit in until you get older and older and older and older. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to be like, oh, Mom, my cousin touched me. He rubbed me on my butt. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you're not finna go tell nobody that, bro. Because then your family members going to look at you like you really fucking mentally retarded. But no, that shit really happens.
When he leaves school, Soul joins up. Leaving the chaos of East Cleveland and his abusive family environment behind, he settles into a routine. Military life suits him.
Maybe the stringent rules in the military were good for him for a while. I know that he was able to, cope in the military, do his job.
How long were you in the service?
7 years.
7 years?
You realistic.
You like to be in the Marine Corps?
I'm good at it.
Yeah.
It's during this time as well, towards the end of his time as a Marine, that he begins to drink and drink quite extensively.
And in fact, at one point in the military, he married a woman who, she actually died, but her mother said that she had married Anthony because she kind of felt bad for him and she wanted him to be able to complete his time in the military, and she was able to help him keep on track.
But on leaving the military, it all begins to go wrong.
If you watch football on TV, you need Fubo. Get NFL coverage.
It is 1989 when the seeds are sown for the shocking tragedy of 12205 Imperial. Two things have changed in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood by the time Soul returns from the Marines.
I think he came home to an East Cleveland that had actually declined even more than when he had left. The city was kind of getting poorer. There was the crack epidemic was really starting to affect the streets. There was a lot of mothers and fathers starting to use those drugs.
Meanwhile, women who'd previously led respectable lives began roaming the streets looking for ways of getting high, vulnerable to abuse. And Anthony Soul himself was soon finding it hard to pass a liquor store.
2007, though, he fell apart. His girlfriend left him and he failed to show up for work. In the end, he was fired and he started to scavenge the streets for metal to sell as scrap. Inevitably, he returned to his crack cocaine habit.
He was really the...
Damn. So, in 2011, what she say, 2011?
Soul himself was soon finding it hard to pass a liquor store.
2007, though, he fell apart.
Oh, 2007. He fell apart. And how she breaking it down, he broke down in a mental state. You feel me? His girl left him. He failed to wake himself up for work. He went right back to the liquor store. He started doing cocaine. So after he lost that one girl that he really loved, it's like he went downhill. He stopped going to work. He started drinking heavily. I mean, he was already drinking heavily, but he went back to doing drugs. You know what I'm saying?
His girlfriend left him and he failed to show up for work. In the end, he was fired and he started to scavenge the streets for metal to sell as scrap. Inevitably, he returned to his crack cocaine habit.
He was really the kind of guy that was doing a lot of drinking. He'd go to the store in the morning and get a beer and just kind of continue that throughout the day.
A pattern is set. The drunk Soul would home in on vulnerable women and use his charm to entice them back to his place.
It wasn't long that he was home before he was actually accused of harming several women. And actually two in kind of close proximity. There was two women, both of whom were pregnant, but also, either abusing drugs or hanging out with people who were drinking, that Anthony Sowell was accused of raping.
This lady was heavily pregnant when she turned up to Soul's house. And after spending some time together, she told him she was leaving. But he wouldn't let her go. He grabbed her and he began to choke her.
He was never prosecuted for that case because he was actually arrested for another case, another rape, within the same year. And he was prosecuted in that case. He ended up pleading guilty to attempted rape and was given a sentence of up to 15 years in prison.
He was released in 2005 to an East Cleveland still suffering from a drugs epidemic. He moved into the family property, 12205 Imperial Avenue.
That's the house. Okay, I'm gonna break it down. That's the house he had all the women buried in. And at the beginning of the video, when we first started, they was tearing down the house. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to. Me personally, if that shit happened to people in the city where I'm from, I wouldn't want to rent that house. I wouldn't want to stay the night there. None of that shit. You know what I'm saying? But like they're saying in the story, like he was hanging around people that was either doing drugs or getting drunk, partying and shit. You feel what I'm saying? That's the only people he hung around was people that like to party. So you got a whole lot of dudes inviting a whole lot of girls over, drinking, partying, doing drugs. You feel what I'm saying? Like.
Today, where 12205 stood is a vacant lot, and locals like it that way. If its walls could tell a story, it would be one of human misery, of the last moments, the dying breaths of sisters.
Did you lose a lot of money sports betting on DraftKings or FanDuel?
I thought that shit was fake.
Mothers.
Like when that shit popped up on my Facebook, it popped up as a news article. And I just went back to my Facebook before I did this video. I was like, man, I know there's a story that I shared about some man in Cleveland. And as I'm going up my timeline, boop, it pops up. So I start reading about it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on YouTube, see if this video is on YouTube. I found one. Now we're reacting to it.
Daughters.
And the reason why I say that, because you know, a lot of shit that's on Facebook, that's news-wise, it really don't be on YouTube unless it's underneath like law and crime videos and shit like that.
Crystal Dozier was described by her mother as the responsible one of her children before she became addicted to crack cocaine. She could be found wandering the streets of Mount Pleasant. On May 17, 2007, by now a mother of 7 and aged 35, she went out to score drugs. She comes across Anthony Sowell. He had his flirting patter off to a T.
He would say, hey, do you want to come in and have a drink? And his house was a place where he would let people crash if they were using drugs and didn't want to go home. The house, you could tell, it was definitely used for a place where people could just crash and could just party. There was beer bottles or beer cans all around.
We'll say a trap house.
Crystal is in a daze as she hears him. Dreamily, she enters 12205. It looks ordinary enough. Sowell has raped before. He has never killed. But the motive and the method of killing for the first time is always lurking deep inside the mind of a serial killer. Will Crystal Dozier realize in time that she might die at any moment? Crystal Dozier is one of many women in Mount Pleasant, Cleveland who's been captured by drugs and spotted by Anthony Sowell, lured into 12205 Imperial.
They were all had these vulnerabilities that Anthony Sowell appeared to hone in on.
As Crystal walks towards the porch of 12205, Sowell may have guessed she'd had a troubled life. Pregnant at 13, a mother of 2 by 17, of 7 by her mid-20s. Hers was now a transient world of drugs and drink. To her, Sowell means the chance of another hit, another high. She responds when he approaches her. Why wouldn't she?
So I looked at her, and she looked so sad and pitiful, like she just had a rough time or something. So I said, a beer? I said, how you gonna get a beer? I said, it's closed. Oh, they'll open up or something like that.
Okay.
So I said, I tell you what, come on with me. You can get all the beers you want.
So you can imagine she meets him, he seems charming enough and persuasive enough that she decides, do you know what, I'll go to this person's house. So any apprehension is clearly not big enough to stop her.
They didn't recognise him or see him as a potential risk.
And
you know what, I say that too, like you know what I'm saying, she should have stayed away. But knowing she had a drug habit and a drinking habit, and knowing that's the same shit he come from, she couldn't like. I can't say like she couldn't say no. You know what I'm saying? Even if he did persuade her, whatever the fuck the word is, like even if he did talk her into like coming over and shit like that, her mind being an addict and a drunk, she's like, okay, cool, we finna hit it off, drink a little bit, do some drugs, and I'm gonna be out. She not knowing that this man has already been accused of rape before in the past. She just thinking she just met somebody fresh off the street. You feel what I'm saying?
She gets there, and that's where things begin to change. So any facade that he's been wearing of being nice or of being normal and caring, that all goes by the wayside, and that's when the terror sets in, because his tools are there, the tools to bind, the tools to hurt, and ultimately the tools to kill.
The woman had been drinking with Soul when he actually just leapt on her. He began to strangle her. He shouted loudly what he was going to do to her, threatening the most appalling sexual attacks.
From what detectives could learn later from those who'd escaped the Sowell ordeal, it's likely he carried out his threat and raped Crystal.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Doing stories like this and then like Netflix comes out with a movie similar to it, or not even Netflix, like Prime, Lifetime type shit. I grew up watching Lifetime with my mom all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I be liking them Lifetime movies, you know what I'm saying? But I want to know why, out of all the stories I've been covering, I just now covered this. Out of all the years and the months I've been reacting to shit and trying to find shit to react to, I'm coming across all these deep ass stories now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if it's because of shit I'm searching up or whatever. I don't know. But what I was going to say is they should have took this shit, this case, and made a movie out of it for Netflix or Tubi. I wouldn't necessarily say Tubi because some Tubi movies be stupid. But the reason why I say that, because when them two white girls was missing in Cleveland, they made a whole damn movie about it. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say that I watched the movie. I think it was called A Bandit and something. A Bandit in Cleveland or some shit. It was some crazy ass title to it. And at the end of it, it said the story of, you know what I'm saying? And that shit was wicked. Like, me and my girl sat there and watched the whole thing. But I'm gonna get back to the story though.
Soul in command, the master of events.
Rape is not about sex. Rape is all about control. Rape is about abuse and overpowering and hurting and controlling.
Strangulation is a very intimate kind of killing. It allows the offender to feel the person's life slip away from them. So it's a very intimate way of killing someone, but it also is the ultimate expression of power and control over someone.
Introducing the Score Bet. For Sunday, Monday, or any day that ends in Y, we're with you.
He buried her body by the backyard fence of 12205. Family members searched for her throughout the time she was missing, still clinging onto the hope that she was alive. In fact, she had become victim number one of Anthony Sowell. Around that time, 2007, Sowell, a registered sex offender, would regularly receive visits at 12205 from the authorities, but they seldom entered. He seemed to be okay. The word was that prison had changed him. One of the bitter ironies about the Sowell story is that he responded well to discipline.
The indication is that during his prison sentence, he was a model prisoner.
He listened, he followed orders, directions, never really got in a lot of trouble.
And that's not surprising, because it gave him back that sense of structure and routine that he obviously had in the military and was missing when he came into civilian life.
He participated in Alcoholics Anonymous, so he was aware that he had an alcohol problem.
He's able to appear very lucid, very normal.
It was that ability to seem normal like a regular guy which would mean that the murder of Crystal Dozier inside his house was only the start of Sowell's killing career. Struggling women would go missing from the neighborhood, but throughout that time, Sowell relentlessly attracted women back to 12205, whilst police did.
So y'all saying that women started disappearing from the neighborhood, and y'all know he was bringing women to his crib to drink, smoke crack, basically get high, and won't let them leave after that. Shit, wicked, bro.
Nothing.
You know, their loved ones that they did love would go missing, but they would always call after a day or two. They would always come back. They would never miss important events like birthdays or Christmas. And so when they went missing for a longer period of time and didn't show up, a lot of them contacted the police and said, you know, this is different. And we're basically told, you know, hey, they'll come back when they're done using drugs.
As is the case with many serial killers, they go for the most vulnerable in our society.
So the police were dismissive of these women for the same reason that Anthony Sowell likely targeted them.
They're an easy target. They're easy, they're not missed, and this is precisely what he does.
I think he probably knew that people weren't going to come, you know, beating down his door looking for these women.
Tishana Culver.
Yeah, facts. Like, the family looking at it like, okay, they'll come back, they'll show back up, they'll be at the birthday party this day, next day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, they'll be there. You know what I'm saying? So they not, the families at this time, it's not like deeply missing them, but they're missing them. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like they do call in to the authorities and be like, hey, this person's missing, this person's missing, or whatever. We're going to give them some time. If they out there getting high, getting drunk, they usually show back up. So what probably happened was they did not show back up to their family's house, and that's why the family got worried, sick, and wanted to keep calling and making complaints.
Fitted that precise profile when she went missing in June 2008, drifting in and out of family life. They didn't report her disappearance. There seemed little point as the 33-year-old had gone missing so often. Leishanda Long was just 17, the youngest of Sowell's victims, but a mother of 3 when she went missing. Her life was in a mess. Deemed unfit to raise her children, she was seldom in contact with family members who loved her and who would one day...
CSP Go is for you. Beauty and makeup tutorials. Find them.
Don't buy that camera that's going viral to keep burglars away. Do this instead for only $22 a month.
They receive horrific news.
One family, I think it was LaShonda Long, the only thing they really recovered of her body was her head. And it was in a bucket in the basement, which was very difficult for them. They didn't even have a body to bury.
I know one thing I think always make me mad is they had kids in it.
And they was out in the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big thing in my head.
Tonya Carmichael.
How the hell that gonna make you mad? Because these women that's coming to your house thinking they finna have a good night, get drunk, get high, go back home to their kids. How the hell is that gonna make you mad because they got kids? Make this shit make sense. How the hell is that gonna make you mad? The man that's raping these women and killing these women and hiding them in the house. How is that making you mad because they had kids and they're out there on the street getting high? What?
Another who'd been in prison for drugs offenses.
Her life kind of intersected with Sowell's early on. They both grew up on Page Avenue. You know, she knew him, you know, probably tangentially. The families kind of knew each other.
Every female that you have brought to the house, have each and every one of them used drugs or using drugs like crack or whatever? Okay. Is that one of the reasons why they come to your house? So they can smoke? Okay. And you telling me that you don't do that?
I
used to, but you don't do that.
Sometimes, but it ain't.
But then I'm trying to get the type of women that come to your house. And this is the type of women that come to your house are one drug users. Outright drug users.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Did you like them though? Did you like them when you met them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you weren't mad at them when you met them. You kind of liked them all, right?
Yes. Okay.
On the day Tonya disappeared, she had told friends that she was running an errand. She never returned. Later, her car would be found in Seoul's neighborhood. Much loved, her family knew things were wrong when she failed to return to pick up 2 paychecks.
When she initially went missing, her family went to police and they were asking for help to find her. And the police said, well, we know she has a drug problem. She'll come home when she's done using drugs. And this family really, they put up flyers. They were really searching for her, especially her daughter, Danita Carmichael, really cared for her mom deeply and was searching for her. And so this was really difficult for her.
15 months after claiming his first victim, Anthony Sowell killed 3 more times, and nobody suspects him of a thing, which means that the man who would become known as the Cleveland Strangler is still at large. The police even received more reports about him.
2 or 3 other women had made reports that mentioned him. There was one woman in particular, Gladys Wade, who in December 2008 said that Sowell approached her. She was walking past his house and tried to drag her in and attack her, and she fought him off. And when she reported her crime to the police, they found that she wasn't credible. And so after arresting him, they let him go.
Released to prey on people like Michelle Mason.
Bruh, what? What the fuck? So you mean to tell me you had a witness that was walking past his house, minding her own business? He tried to snatch her up and drag her in the house. Then she come to y'all, tell y'all this shit, and y'all just turn around and talk about she wasn't incredible, my bad. This goddamn mic on my ear, bro. This shit keep, you know what I'm saying? But, y'all tell her that she wasn't incredible. So y'all had no choice but to let this man out. Right there, I fought the Cleveland Police Department for that shit.
Michelle was in a rare moment of happiness in her life. Thought to have kicked her heroin and crack cocaine habit, she was finally living independently. But on one October evening, she seems to have entered the home of Anthony Sowell without suspecting what was going on inside the mind of a serial killer. What happened to Michelle Mason? At 45, she had fallen victim to drugs like Sowell's other victims. It's likely that she got the Anthony Sowell strangulation treatment at 12205.
There was a number of women who actually made it out of Anthony Sowell's house, and each of them also described either being choked or strangled by him quite aggressively, sometimes with like a cord or a strap, other times with his hands.
He treated them very roughly, he raped them, and he abused them verbally and physically.
I got mad and I was like, cussed him out and told him to get the out of something.
So in your dream, you do remember getting mad?
I think so.
Do you ever remember doing anything with your hands? Actually doing stuff?
Yes, must, because I remember that.
Can you tell me exactly what did you do with your hands?
I can. That's why I could tell you it wasn't no weapon.
Michelle's body would become one of those found at 12205 Imperial, victim number 5, and still no investigation into Sowell, a known sex attacker. Sowell remained unsuspected by the authorities. Some police would later say that working the neighborhood itself can prove difficult. They're not always welcome, and crack-addicted women truly do disappear for weeks on end and then return. but there was also Sowell's calm demeanor when he comes.
Even if the women do disappear from like doing drugs and getting drunk throughout the week type shit and they don't go back home, as an officer that's on the force, wouldn't you enforce, what's the word I'm looking for? Wouldn't you enforce that shit? Like, okay, well, so we ain't been out a couple days, a few extra hours doing overtime looking for these women. Let's enforce this. Let's put more cars. My fault. Let's put more patrol cars out here in the neighborhood. This neighborhood particular. Because it seems like there's a lot of women in this neighborhood around where this man lived that's coming up missing. So let's either extend some shifts or keep multiple patrol cars out on that block or in a mile radius around that block. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me speaking, because I watch too much Chicago PD and Law and Order, so you feel me?
Into contact with police, shown in the case of a woman.
Because I feel like y'all know these women are just straight up drug addicts, young black drug addicts, and y'all really not giving no fucks about them. That's how it's seeming to me.
Who at one point in Sowell's story fell from a window at his home after being attacked. A story the entire neighborhood knew of.
12205 Imperial.
A passerby called in the incident. Indignant at the time it was taking to get help. As the neighbors of Sowell on Imperial Avenue watched, the passerby describes what he can see.
She looked like she around about 40.
About 40? All right.
Yeah.
Is she conscious?
She can't get up, though.
But she is awake, right?
Look, I ain't even trying to go near her. I gave her my
awake?
T-shirt to put on.
Is she awake?
She kind of awake and going in and out.
Breathing?
Yeah.
And which window did she fall out? The first or the second?
I don't know.
Was it less than 6 feet or more than 6 feet?
The second, yeah.
Yeah, on phone them, just get somebody down there. Why do the goddamn dispatchers do that shit, bro? If you get a call and you a dispatcher, like, hey, this the woman look like she's 40 years old. She was just jumped out of a goddamn window on the second floor. She don't look like she's talking. She don't look like she's moving. Send help. Y'all want to ask all these extra ass questions. What is she wearing? What does she look like? How tall is the window? 6 feet? This, that? Like, come on, just send help. Like, he getting mad too. I can feel doing the phone getting mad. He getting mad. Like, man, just send help. I don't know.
12, 15
All right.
feet.
All right. There we go. And it happened just now, correct?
Yeah.
The case where the woman fell out the window, Anthony Sowell actually went to the hospital with that woman, and as the police were trying to question her, she was kind of afraid to say anything because he was there. You know, he told the police, well, we were just using drugs together, and she accidentally fell out of the window. You know, she later said that he was, attacking her.
Hers was not the only story of getting trapped by a man, raped, and who would escape only to be ignored by authorities. Once out of the house, the women recounted horrific stories.
For this shit.
The pattern seems to be
because these people are coming to y'all. They're steady calling y'all and telling y'all what this man is out here doing. And yet, the lady goes through the damn window. And y'all still let this man go to the hospital with her. And she later out, like, my fault. She later on tell y'all he was trying to attack her. And y'all still don't go to arrest him?
Initially very charming and able to connect with women and lure them back to his house. But once he gets them back there, he begins to lose control. He begins to lose his temper. He begins to want to assert his power over them, his abuse over them. And that's where we see time and time again. He rapes, he binds, he murders. He rapes, he binds, he murders.
What she just said. He rapes, he binds, he murders. He rapes, he binds, and murders. She just said it back to back. So out on the street, this man right here is a con artist. he will scheme his way to talk to you as if you're a female and you look decent to him, he's going to get you to come over. You know what I'm saying? And if you do drugs, he's definitely going to get you high. If you drink a little bit, he definitely going to get you drunk. And then once you're inside his home, he loses control. He gets to choking y'all out, beating y'all up, raping y'all, forcing y'all to have sex with him. Bro, bro. This man need a death penalty. He don't need no damn. I want to know what his verdict was, bro.
Sowell again remains free to attack.
Essentially, people like Anthony Sowell and other serial rapists that have since been discovered, they were smarter than the police. They were smarter than the community. They knew that these women, and the police act like they dumb
the
as
women
hell. Probably knew in some ways too that nobody would care.
Ironically, he saw women as people who should be perfect. They were not supposed to have flaws.
He hated the fact that they used drugs and would even say things to them about it, and know he wanted to help them, but then he would also do it himself. So he definitely had this strange relationship where he would meet women who had drug problems. He would kind of entice them into his home, with the idea of drinking or using drugs. But then he would also try to be very caring. Well, let me get you some clothes. Let me feed you. You look like you need to eat.
Someone was telling me that, and it stands to reason. He said,
it seems to me like this man got a split personality. You know what I'm saying? 1 minute on the street, he nice to his women. Next minute inside his house, he wants to take control of them, rape them, beat them, murder them. You know what I'm saying? And then in the next minute, while you're still in his house, he wants to offer you food, clothes, damn near a shower. So it seems to me like he got split personalities, bro. Like two different sides of him.
When he has these dreams,
and knowing the fact what he was going through growing up, touching on his cousin, and seeing a lot of shit at a young age, he's really effed up in the head, bro. So at the end of this video, I really want to see what he was charged with and how much time he got. Because he talking about right now in this intervention, they talking about the dreams he was having.
he meets these girls. Some of the girls remind him of his girlfriend. And I asked you, was anything that they said or was anything that they did? And you said by the way their past, you said you asked them about why you out here on the street.
I talked to them.
Yeah, you talked to them. Yeah. Why you out here on the street? And
you're a nice girl. Why don't you get you some help?
Sound like you're trying to help them. That's cool.
And then you said you get mad and they remind you of your girlfriend.
I know.
And then that's what happened.
So it's kind of these two personalities that people would describe seeing.
Just said that.
Hello. He had at least one or two.
I just said that. Before they even started talking, I said, it sounds to me like he got a split personality. So, one character, for his sake, he can be good to you, treat you good, take care of you. You know what I'm saying? Get you high, get you drunk. If you do that, then you got the second character. Want to rape, beat, and kill these women. And then third off, you got him wanting to love, care for you, help take care of you. So like I said, he has split personalities, bro. Especially from going through the shit he went through growing up.
Girlfriends at the time that we were able to hear from.
But that also don't mean they're supposed to show sympathy for this man. Let's not forget, he unalived 11 females. No dudes at all. So far that we know of. There was all 11 female victims.
Afterwards.
And most of them was drug addicts and drunks. And a couple of them got away.
Who talked about, the
and went and told the police.
long conversations they would have and how, kind and introspective he could be. But then he could also be very violent if someone disagreed with him or didn't say the right things.
Meanwhile, the signs that a multiple murder was at large were there for anyone to see or smell if they really investigated.
There are a number of reports of a bad smell being reported in the area.
Right next to the house where Anthony Sowell lived on Imperial Avenue was a place called Ray's Sausage. And for years, when there had been foul odors that the neighbors noticed, they would call the city or call the health department. When people would come out, they would always attribute the smells to Ray's Sausage. And in fact, the people that own this very small family-owned sausage company redid their entire sewer system thinking that somehow the smell was being attributed to them, their sausage making, their dumpsters. We only realized later that it was probably Anthony Sowell. And in fact, the owner said at one point that they believed that he may have dumped some bodies in their
Time exists to help everyday Americans make it. When you get paid on your terms, your world opens up.
dumpsters.
This fast food store became the focus of complaints. Surely the smell was coming from there. The owners took the issue seriously, spent tens of thousands of dollars digging up drains.
What we now know is that was the smell that was emanating from the decaying corpses that were in his home and buried in his garden.
But with 5 women dead and all having been seen last in Sowell's neighbourhood, that fact was still far from emerging. On January 17, 2009, Sowell was to strike again. As a child, Kim Weiss Smith was close to her father, no trouble to her parents. When a teenager, Kim had begun sampling drugs, and when a young woman, she was hooked. After she disappears, her father offers a reward to help find her, but she was never to be seen alive again. Murdered by Sowell, her body buried in the garden. It took a DNA test from her father to confirm it was her. It was next the turn of Nancy Cobbs to become the focus of Anthony Sowell's gaze. Nancy Cobbs was, on her own admission, a very poor mother. But as she got older, so she got her life back in some sort of order, helping raise her grandchildren, but often being seen with a man drinking beer on a stoop. That man was Sowell, and in April 2009, she disappeared. Friends and family combed the neighbourhood. They did not search the garden of 12205 Imperial. Amelda Hunter, known as Amy, by 14 she had become pregnant, her daughter born deaf and with cerebral palsy. Amy found solace in drugs and by 2009 often sought both them and companionship in 12205 Imperial. She'd struck up a friendship with an assassin. How would Amy's story end? Inside the home of Anthony Sowell, Amy Hunter would have seen the clothes left abandoned after Sowell had claimed the lives of his victims. She may even have seen the remains of others left to decompose in rooms and inside barely concealed spaces. Certainly, she would have been overwhelmed by the stench of putrefying flesh. But, likely as not, heavily under the influence of drugs, she was powerless to either escape or avoid the same fate of the women whose bodies were all around her. She became victim number 9 of the Cleveland Strangler. Still no outcry in the neighbourhood as so many women went missing, and still no suspicion about Sowell, who'd actually become a popular fixture on Imperial Avenue.
He really had this kind of outward appearance to the neighborhood where he would hold barbecues and chat with people. They didn't really suspect him of doing anything like this.
Janice Webb liked to party, the joker according to her family. The same profile as the others, addicted to crack cocaine, often seen wandering the streets looking for a way of satisfying her lethal habit, falling under the spell of a man who by now was running out of space to store the bodies.
All I say is under 10, that's all I
So...
Hold up, let me see.
If you were in my shoes, what would you want me to tell you? 10 9876?
I don't know.
He was literally leaving them at his feet. Some believe by this stage he had lost his mind.
The fact that he murdered 2 women and just left their bodies on the floor of his home with no attempt to conceal them really does suggest that there was some kind of underlying mental illness, potentially compounded by his drink and drug problems.
There's not just a sense that he's killing and neatly, tying everything up and moving along and trying not to do this again. There's a sense that this is who he is. This is his life. He's surrounded by his handiwork everywhere he turns.
Talicia Forston was just 31 and a mother of 3 by the time she had been captured by crack. Sowell's 10th victim. Her remains later found, buried in the garden.
If y'all don't get the moral of the story now, all his victims was addicted to crack cocaine. And they was drunks. So to him, those was easy targets. They lingering around on the street in Cleveland, late night, all hours of the day, looking for crack, looking to get fucked up, drunk. And then you get this man. He comes along, invites you over. His house looked up to par, I want to say. What else? And you just thinking he probably a dirty ass person because his house stink, and you not knowing, as a female, you go in there, you not even knowing that this man got bodies, other people's corpse in his house, between the walls and the garden. You not thinking that. You just thinking of a way to get a free high. At this point.
8 weeks later, in September 2009, Diane Turner was to become victim number 11. Her fragmented family life meant not only that nobody reported her missing, even after her body was recovered from 12205, it would remain unclaimed, unrecognized in the city morgue for nearly a year.
You got 4 bodies up top. You got 1 body in the basement. There's no more room in the house for bodies. So you gotta go outside. This would make her most likely the last one.
Actually, sheriff's deputies visited his house and he had to check in regularly as a sex offender. And I think the same week as these bodies were discovered, they had checked in on him at his home, and they had just never entered his home because that wasn't part of what they did. If they did, they probably would have noticed something amiss or smelled the foul odor that neighbors had been complaining about for years, but couldn't really pinpoint, where it was coming from.
There's a Harbor Freight store in your neighborhood. And the thing about neighborhoods, they're not made of places.
I mean, yeah, if the cops never enter his home, of course they're not going to be able to find these corpses. You know what I'm saying? Because immediately they would have smelt that smell. If you know what I know, if you know what a dead body smell like, then you're going to be able to pinpoint that smell, bro. Like, ooh, shit, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have that type of reaction. Like, ooh, I bet you something in here is dead. Like the last video I did.
The series of killings finally ended towards the end of October 2009. It was not because of any great detective work. Rather, it was because Sowell did not complete his usual routine of attack, rape, and murder. A woman called Latundra Billups joined up with Sowell for them to jointly buy crack before returning to 12205. An officer finally investigates and discovers other allegations of rape against Sowell, and police on October 29th finally entered 12205 Imperial Avenue.
When police went back to Anthony Sowell's house to arrest him for the rape, they initially just kind of walked into the house, and when they went upstairs, they found the 2 bodies that were decomposing pretty much out in the open, or maybe just only slightly covered over. So then they decided they needed to go over the whole house from top to bottom. They cordoned off the house, the backyard, And when they started digging in the backyard, I think they actually used some special sensors and found that there were some bodies buried underneath there. So they unearthed a number of the bodies from the backyard.
Officers interviewing Soul try to win his confidence, engage in small talk, at first about his grandchildren.
You got 4?
You got 4, man.
Yeah. Shit. They call you Papa or Grandpa? Yeah?
And
You love that, don't you?
No.
You do.
It's okay, no. But that's everybody call me that.
Yeah, that's the love for them. So I know that. You probably be skinning and grinning.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Don't you? You don't be grinning when they be coming up to you?
Anthony Sowell had entered the macabre pantheon of serial killers known throughout the world, under police interrogation. Despite protesting that the voices in his head had something to do with the murders, he eventually gave in to the truth.
So this boy born on a street in this unassuming green house with cousins and a mother and a grandmother grows up to be the notorious Cleveland Strangler, known for his viciousness in attacking women.
He's killed at least 11 women, and the motive behind that would appear to be one of sexual gratification, but potentially also one of power and control, particularly when you look at the method that he most likely used to kill those women, which is strangulation.
And for the city of Cleveland, Sowell's crimes meant a period of reflection.
It was a sobering moment for Cleveland to realize that 11 citizens could go missing and nobody could make the connection that they were all in the same place, had all been killed by the same man.
For a while, 12205 was left standing.
Which is fucking ridiculous if you ask me. Because you're in a community where people was coming up missing, and there's one dude throughout that neighborhood that's already been questioned and taken in approximately twice for rape. And people's walking past this man's house all day, every day, not suspecting a thing. Because one, he got bodies buried in the garden out back. And then the rest of the corpse is in the house. So the only way you could have probably pinpoint this to him is if you was inside the house and you never got out. And unless you was the girls that did make it out and did go to the police. You feel what I'm saying? So like,
A reminder of Sowell's crimes where artifacts of the women had been abandoned, clothing and jewelry and other things in the upstairs apartment of his home.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! Say it! No justice! No peace! No justice!
People moved quickly to get control of the house so that they could knock it down. And, you know, within the year, the house was bulldozed and made into an empty lot. And there's been plans in the works for almost 5 years now to put some kind of memorial at that site.
Here's to the go-getters, whether they're in the gym or anywhere else.
I think it left the whole community numb. You know, how could we let this happen? How could we let this happen?
Sowell was given the death penalty in 2011.
Good.
A sentence.
Good. I don't wish jail on nobody, but the shit he did, he needed that. He needed that. 2011, he got the death penalty. He needed that. I told you, Ohio's different than all these other states. We talk about Florida, fucking Houston, Atlanta, like New York. Ohio's not going to play with you when you committing murders like this. 11 women in one community that came up missing, and it was either drug addicts, raped, strangled, or choked to death. As they should. Lock his ass up. I don't care. Y'all can call me what y'all want. Oh, you really want that man to go to jail? It's too late. He already in jail. And he's facing the damn death penalty. That's his fault. He should never did none of this shit. You gotta be one sick individual to do some shit like this. So guess what? Round of applause. Your ass got the death penalty, buddy. You need it. You deserve it. Fuck out of here.
Not yet carried out.
Fucking crazy, bro.
He's on death row in Ohio.
Just think, bro. What if you was from Cleveland and that was your mom, your aunt, your sister? You know what I'm saying? You not a lot of y'all probably gonna watch this and not look at it how I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that was your mom, your auntie, your sister, your first cousin? You know what I'm saying? What if one of them women was your relation? You know what I'm saying? Is you gonna look at it different then? Is you gonna be like, oh yeah, give his ass the death penalty? You know what I'm saying? Send his ass away. He got the death penalty. That's what he deserves. And she said he's on death row right now in Ohio.
At a maximum security prison. He actually has a number of appeals in his case. He's definitely appealing the sentence that could put him to death. The arguments basically are, that the mitigating factors weren't really given to the jury enough. They didn't know enough about the reasons that he committed the crime.
Anthony Sowell would claim he never had a chance. He says he witnessed women in authority, his mother and grandmother, physically abusing his female cousins, watched and then took part in rape at 11 years old. His perspective on women skewed, he would argue that he was destined to become a rapist and a killer. An Ohio jury and judge did not accept that as mitigation. His steady military record and, ironically, his time in prison proved that he knew how to behave. His house of horrors was evidence of a mind twisted, but Sowell was sane enough to know that he had denied a future to the most vulnerable women of the neighborhood. 12205 Imperial is no longer there, but it has given up its secrets, so the knowledge of what Sowell did will haunt Cleveland forever.
Yeah. I wonder if people still talk about that. Like, being from Cleveland and being from up that way and knowing that shit went down back in the day. Like, and he's in a maximum prison as we speak. I might do a part 2 to this because this is the full video. But I might do tomorrow night, I might do the video where he's actually sitting in court being sentenced and shit. I might do that shit.